Hey, reach up there and pull those belts tight. One more time, you're watching the original Rebels Racing League.
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the original Rebel Racing League late night series here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway for the Anchor Point 150, a mental health awareness race here today. And as always, I'm James East in the booth, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Always a pleasure being here with the late night series as we get ready to go out for a single car qualifying. And we're going to get this show started very early on, as I believe it's going to be James Jones and the number 1 machine, the first car out on track. Now, Talladega, we're expecting some great draft racing till the end. But if and when the first crash comes, that will be the big one here at Talladega. Looks to be about 27 drivers making it out here tonight. 28 drivers, so not a bad grid at all. Looking forward to seeing what all these competitors can do. Last week we were at Bristol, and the guys had a very rough time trying to keep it clean and pointed in the right direction. But Talladega, a wide open super speedway, may be able to see some good green flag runs here today. As we get ready for Jones to put down his first time lap, let's see what it is. Does not appear to count it, so Jones may have gave the wall just a little bit of a love tap. If you score any incident points at all here at Talladega, even a 0x, it will show you as an invalidated lap. Excuse me, that's a tongue twister. So I believe Jones will be the first lap time put down here today. On the opening laps, you expect to see all the drivers taking the high line, trying to build up as much speed as they possibly can. And on their second timed hot lap, they'll drop down to that inside line as tight as they can possibly make it and try and click off a flyer. Let's see what Jones does here at the line coming around the tri-oval. Jones with a 52.83 to start the night, but Chris Reese immediately answers with a 52.47, while Jake Ellington, he puts down a 52.45, so everybody getting faster and faster already. Peyton Johnson on his last lap does a 52.91. Let's check on Joshua Thompson, number 3 machine, see what he can do out here today. But a lot of talented drivers coming out. I think you're going to see a few new faces joining the fray as well as we come out to a super speedway. Some drivers want to try something a little bit different. As Josh Thompson, he's still coming around for his final lap to make something happen. So Jeff Paisley, he puts it on top of provisional pole number 7 machine with Arcadia Motorsports with a 52.39, about 0.05 of a second faster than Peyton Johnson on his last lap. Let's check and see who else is going out on track. Brett Rather, number 97 machine, he's out there trying to make something on that Arcadian Motorsports butt kicker sponsored Chevrolet Camaro. Not quite sure what we're going to expect here tonight with open pack racing like this, kind of on a play track. We have the opportunity for some great green flag runs. We also have the opportunity for a whole lot of heartbreak. But this is definitely going to be an interesting and exciting race all at the same time. As Redder looking for that fast lap this time by his final fast lap. And As always, as we get ready to wrap up qualifying, about 15 seconds left in the session, we'd like to thank all of our viewers from across the world tuning in their favorite drivers here at the Late Night Series. We couldn't do it without you guys. We always take a look at the chat and see who's cheering from the spectators. So again, thank you profusely to everybody that tunes in every week, supports their favorite drivers. As qualifying will come to an end, and Brett Redder unable to get a qualifying time. Let's take a look at tonight's grid as you've got Steve Loving starting on top of pole. Kyle Roberts will be starting second. Jeff Paisley will be starting third here today. Then you've got Clint Rice starting fourth. Jamie Dobbs starting fifth. Peyton Johnson starting sixth here tonight. A lot of very talented drivers out here. Isaac Wilson starting seventh. Jake Ellington starting eighth. Harold Barnes starting ninth. Brett Grunwald starting 10th. You've got Chris Reese starting 11th. Joshua Thompson starting 12th. James Jones will be starting 13th tonight. Michael Morrison starting 14th. Ryan Williams starting 15th. Bill Stringfellow, the number 38, will be starting 16th. Dakota Camper starting 17th. Justin Wilkinson starting 18th. You've got Jason Rockefeller starting 19th. Brett Redder 20th. Garrett Kinder starting 21st. Kai Shapper starting 22nd. Jason Lawridge starting 23rd. Josh Oswald starting 24th. Larry Ashby, number 34 machine, will be starting 25th. Mike Uribe with the Magic Mike Motorsports starting 26th. Gene Watkinson starting 27th. And then you've got John W. Dunn in the number 11 machine. He will start 28th to round out our field today at Talladega. Not quite sure what we're going to see, as it is guaranteed to be a good one. Again, it is 60 laps here at the Super Speedway. 150 miles of non-stop, door-to-door, bumper-to-bumper action, guaranteed to be quite exciting. Garrett Kinder getting once again another shout-out for winning the Tuesday night Dirt Invaders Season 3 Championship, as we're going to roll our drivers off of the starting grid and get ready to send them out. It's going to be a great, great race here at Talladega. We're going to do one lap of pacing before we send these guys out on their way. The green flag will drop. Again, it's going to be Steve Loving and Kyle Roberts here front row. But what type of action are we going to see over the long haul? 60 laps here at Talladega. Are we going to get those green flag runs that we're always looking for as competitors and racers, or is it going to be a rough start for several people? Time will tell. As the iRacing pace car, that Ford Mustang, going to lead them around the backstretch in their formation lap. And then once that green flag drops, it is going to get quite exciting for everybody involved, broadcasters, fans included. What are we going to see here? Plenty of opportunities for some first-time winners here for the original Rebel Racing Late Night Series. As right now it is Jeff Paisley out front in the points. Brett Redder is just one single point behind his competitor and teammate. Jeff Paisley will be starting third tonight, and you have to go all the way back to try and find Brett Redder, who's starting 18th tonight. Pace car will be in, this time by and the green flag will fly here at Talladega for the Anchor Point 150 Mental Awareness Race. It's going to be Steve Loving up front. He's accompanied by Jeff Paisley in line on the inside line, trying to make something happen early on. I can predict you're going to see a lot of familiar faces try and team up as it's Loving, Paisley, Dobbs, and Johnson, our top 4 drivers right now. Looks like for the most part, everybody seems pretty relatively happy following in single line formation to make something happen. The outside line lagging pretty far behind, but giving themselves ample opportunity to get a good run on the lead pack. As that lead pack is Loving, Paisley, Dobbs running nose to tail, your top 3 drivers. Then on the outside line, you've got the number 15 machine of Peyton Johnson, number 15 of the Chevrolet, doing his best to get that outside line formed up nice and pretty to try and get some momentum towards the front. But they've got quite a ways to go to catch up to the likes of Loving, Paisley, and Dobbs, your top 3 driver. Ooh, that was a move. That was Harold Barnes making an aggressive jump to the outside line in his number 83 machine, trying to work his way up the pack. Interesting to see if and when we see that outside line really start steamrolling up here, getting some momentum up front. You've got Jeff Paisley looking like he's going to go wide as well, maybe to try and pick up Harold Barnes leading that outside line. So the number 7 machine will have a second place at the line, as Stephen Loving was just barely out in front. Justin Wilkinson currently back in 13th in his number 19 Chevrolet, sets the fastest lap of the race on 49.43. And now we're going to see that outside line maybe get something working as Jeff Paisley's going to get a good hearty push from Harold Barnes. But look at that. Steve Loving, Jamie Dobbs linked up nose to tail going into the back section of the racetrack and into the final couple of corners. Really pushing their way up very, very strong. So far, so good. Looks like that outside line kind of falling apart. Jeff Paisley, Bud Barnes rapidly falling back as everyone else in that formation looks to drop to the inside line and maybe click off some laps to try and get through a fuel window here. If I was a guessing man, I think you'll see some of these drivers coming around the lap 30 or so mark, but look at that. Jamie Dobbs looks to the outside line. He's going to get almost little to no support from his fellow competitors, and he will rapidly fall off as the inside line starts to get a whole lot of speed. Man, what a great shot, showing all these guys running in formation. Good, fantastic pack racing at its best. Kyle Roberts, he's joining Jamie Dobbs in the high side, trying to get things formed up. It is the top 15 drivers all in one pack. We're going to go back to 16th to Peyton Johnson, who is leading the second pack of race cars. But there is a lot of very fast and very experienced racers sticking around in that second pack thinking, you know what? We're kind of betting on a big crash here today. Let's play it safe, take it easy, and just kind of watch what these guys are doing in front of us. But so far, everybody up front's been running very, very clean. Not seeing any hyper-aggressive passing or action going on. That's Isaac Wilson, number 93 machine. He is up 5 spots so far today, making his way up into second place behind Steve Loving, your pole setter for tonight's race. These guys keeping it pretty clean out front, but playing a gigantic game of snake as nobody wants to get out of line quite yet. Right as we say that, just the commentator's curse always strikes. That's Justin Wilkinson, the number 19 machine, looks to the high line. Maybe want to take a break from being in the draft, but that's going to allow the number 3 machine, Joshua Thompson, to get by. We've had a lot of big movers early on. Several guys up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots. As everybody briefly gets out of line, getting quickly back in line. That's Jeff Paisley, number 7. He's battling with a Michael Morrison, number 21. But so far, these guys keeping it pretty tame. Very surprised after Bristol was a very rough race on the high-banked half-miler, but so far these guys doing a fantastic job clicking off laps and making it look relatively easy. As Josh Thompson, he's the lone car on the outside line once more. He'll be rapidly falling back, as not having the draft support that he really needs out here. So it's interesting to see one of the first races off season. We've seen everybody seem to be pretty content running single file, as you've got 15 drivers in the lead pack. Then you have to go back to Josh Oswald, Garrett Kinder, Kai Schapper, Jason Rockefeller, Peyton Johnson, Bill Stringfellow, Dakota Camper, Mike Uribe. A lot of very fast, experienced drivers here in the Late Night League that seem to be happy just driving around in their own little pack. They are about 2 seconds back from that lead pack, at least the tail end of that lead pack. So I think you might see a game here of the experienced late night veterans just taking it easy, trying to click off laps together, surrounding themselves with drivers they can trust, and just clicking through to the fuel window. As they're going to pick up, I believe that's going to be Josh Thompson's number 3 machine. And Thompson may find himself getting shuffled back to yet another line here up front. It's still Steve Loving getting a lot of support from Isaac Wilson's number 93 machine. Isaac in that very cool patriotic painted Chevrolet. It's 4 Chevrolets out front, first through Ford. Then you've got one of your lone Fords, James Jones, the number 1 machine. He's running 5th on track in his Ford Mustang, trying to get those manufacturers back up towards the front. Meanwhile, at the pack, it looks like they're going to start shuffling around just a little bit. A couple drivers looking for some 2-wide action, but the rest of the field says, no, sir, not quite yet. They're going to stick single file and just keep on clicking off laps, as Steve Loving in the Miller machine up front, number 27. He's led almost every lap so far in this race. But even he knows it's going to be a game of patience among these competitors before they go out and absolutely send it once we get to our closing laps. Fastest lap of the race so far, still owned by Justin. No, it's going to be Harold Barnes. He is tied with Kyle Roberts, both dropping a 49.42. Right now, all these guys are about only 1/10 off their best lap times of the race, but some of that could be attributed to the single file action we've seen so far here today. Seems like the driver's getting a little bit more patient as the season progresses, willing to make a little bit less daring moves early on in the race so they can make it to the end. Now Steve Loving out front is still searching for his first win of the season in the number 27 machine. He is 3rd in points overall. He's only about 7 seconds back from the points leader, Jeff Paisley, but doing his best to try and secure that very first win for the number 27. I know he'd be ecstatic. Your 2nd place driver, Isaac Wilson. Now, I'm not sure if we've seen Isaac make an appearance here for the late night series so far. We are not seeing him on the season points results. So the newcomer in the number 93 machine coming out for one of the only super speedways we're running so far this season. Out there charging hard. So obviously he's looking for his first win as well, but even for even a podium finish for a new driver here in the league would be absolutely fantastic. As it looks like he's a pretty good draft partner, just tucking in line, sitting behind these guys. Meanwhile, you've got third place just cruising. That's a Brett Grunewald in the number 5 machine. Another one of those Arcadia Motorsports drivers. They field, I believe, 3 or 4 cars out here each and every week. Grunewald currently 6th in points. Doing a great job out there today, running third place very comfortably. He is another one of those drivers still chasing his very first win. As I believe we are about halfway to our fuel window of the night. I believe it's going to be around lap 25 to 30. You see drivers come in for necessary fuel. All these guys are going to do their best to make it a one-stop race if the fuel allotment allows. But no, the caution will come out for the first time on lap 14. As Bill Stringfellow involved in an incident. Let's see if we can grab you that instant replay. Stringfellow, he's in the number 38 machine. Let's see what happens. I think he just got a good hearty shove coming out of turn 2 from the 3 machine. Joshua Thompson, and the number 38 is going to go for quite a violent spin down the back straightaway. Locks it up to avoid causing any more damage. Gets it pointing in the right directions, but he's going to come into pit lane to try and get that car worked on. And we are going to restack the field with Steve Loving, Isaac Wilson, Brett Grunewald, Chris Reese, James Jones, our top 5 for this restart. So we'll bring out our first caution here at Talladega, get them re-racked and sent back out. So it looks like everybody's going to opt to stay out here for track position. Nobody wanted to come in too early and yield that spot. As Steve Loving will once again lead Isaac Wilson around the racetrack. Great over-the-shoulder view of Loving's number 27 machine. And I have 28 drivers that made it to tonight. We had one DNF, John Dunn, in the number 11 machine. And you can really hear the fuel saving going on right now. Steve Loving looking sharp as always out front. Great to see him up there. As we're going to get ready to send it back out, you'll see these guys forming up, double file this time by. And then one more lap of pacing before we get the show fired back up here today at Talladega. We made it about 14 laps before the first caution. Going to be interesting to see how far these guys can truly stretch it out on fuel before pitting is an absolute necessity. So let's see what's going to happen here at Talladega for the Anchor Point 150 Mental Health Awareness Race. It's going to be Isaac Wilson, Steve Loving out front. Pace car will be in this time by to send our competitors out. They've got a whole lot of laps left here at Talladega to make something happen. So I don't think you see anybody pushing too hard too early on, as Steve Loving's led almost the majority of the entire race with Isaac Wilson in tow. Many of the drivers are up 4, 5, all the way up to 12 spots as Brett Redder, the number 97 machine. He has worked his way up into 8th place. And what is going on? There's a crash under caution? What is happening here? What are these guys doing? What happened? How? We're going to see what happens here. We're watching Harold Bud Barnes, the number 83 machine, the green truck on the right side of your screen. Somebody must have had some sort of hardware, mechanical, or something. As yeah, look at that. Jason Rockefeller dives across the track, number 14 machine. He's got mechanical issues, and he's got it bad. They're going to pile it up here under caution. I mean, that's 5 or 6 cars involved in damage. Oh, to be a fly on the wall to listen to that one, as Mike Uribe was unable to get off of the apron there. He kind of high-sided his truck. So we're going to extend the caution, send him back out. But I don't believe I've ever seen anything like that before. We get reports that his wheel came undone, so Rockefeller had mechanical problems. We are confirmed on that, and it caused a 5 or 6 car pile up here under caution at Talladega. Never seen anything like that. That is a whole lot of bad luck for several drivers in a race where aero is so important. Wow. Well, what a wild night here for the Anchor Point 150, as the caution will stay out for a little bit of an extended caution to get everything back pointed in the right direction, try and get these race cars back out on track. Mike Uribe, number 77 machine, he's still in pit lane, having to take a tow, I'm pretty sure, to get back to his stall. I believe pace car will be in this time by, and then we're going to send him back out. So again, it is Steve Loving, Isaac Wilson out front. Steve Loving gets a great launch. Isaac Wilson's going to follow in tow. Then on the high line, I believe it's going to be Chris Reese starting on the high line. He's going to drop low as well. Everybody trying to get low as quickly as they possibly can to get that single file format once more. Let's see what's happening. Let's going to go a little bit further back in the field as we see a lot of guys going side by side. They're doing more than that. They're going to go 3 wide down the backstretch. Everybody trying to find somebody to fall in line with draft with. It looks like they break down back into single file format. But no, there's Jason Lotridge trying to get a run on the outside line, maybe pick up a spot or two. He's going to follow Peyton Johns, the number 15 machine. And I believe Buddy Barnes is as well going to go high side, maybe start forming up that second line because out front the leaders are just checking out. Let's look a little bit further up in the field as Garrett Kenner, number 13 machine. He's accompanied by number 43, Kai Schappert with Shappy Edits. And they're trying to grab a couple spots whenever they can as well. All these guys communicating on when they can get in line, when they cannot. So now Kinder's going to follow Josh Oswald, number 17 machine, who is currently running 10th. And up 14 spots so far here tonight. Kinder looking for a way around here, as he's got the 17 machine of Josh Oswald and Justin Wilkinson just in front of him. Kinder currently running 11th, is doing his best to break into that top 10 spot if he can make it happen. We're going to check on the battle further up front. And you've got just quite the pack party going on. It's Steve Loving, Isaac Wilson, Chris Reese, Brett Grunwald, and James Jones, your top 5 out here today. Making it look relatively easy. These guys are just going to run single file. A 6-car pack trying to get a little bit of a breakaway on the field behind them. Everybody doing a fantastic job so far, keeping it nice and clean, not having any issues out there. Now, at what point are we going to see these guys start jockeying for a position to try and battle through? Because right now they're going to click off single file laps here, try and get through a few fuel window, and more importantly, keep that second pack behind them. So is this top 6 driver still running in line, single file? Then once you get back to 7th place, Brett Redder, he's about 1.5 seconds back from the race leader, trying to get his line formed up. But he is accompanied by a couple of teammates. He's got Jeff Paisley right in tow with him. So it's always nice having that teammate that can help you push up towards the front. They're also accompanied by Justin Wilkinson, Josh Oswald, and Garrett Kinder. We had a crash out on track, but they're going to keep it green. The driver able to get a quick tow back to pit lane. As look at the two Arcadian Motorsports drivers pushing very aggressively to try and whittle away at that gap that the top 6 drivers on the racetrack currently have. It's going to be interesting to see if that second pack can gain another time all on their own. We're not quite to the halfway mark, so plenty of time left in the race. I do not know if and when we're going to see a pit stop strategy come into play, as none of the drivers pitted on the first lap. or the first caution, I should say. And now the party's starting to happen as Ellington, Redder, Paisley all working their way up to the front. They're going to start intermingling with that lead pack. Ellington will be the first car that kind of gets swallowed up. Redder looks to the high line. He's not getting the support that he really needs. But they are also catching their teammate Brett Grunwald, number 5 machine. So all these guys are going to communicate on when to hop out of line and when to make something happen. So you'll start to see cars moving in unison, trying to make something happen, to make that final decision as a team. So for now, the field's gone back to single file, but we have really reformed this pack up front. It was a 6-car rodeo. Now you've got, once again, about 12 to 15 drivers, all technically in the lead pack. Up front, it's Steve Lovin and Isaac Wilson still leading the charge, accompanied by Chris Reese and Brett Grunwald. But Grunwald knows he's got 2 teammates driving up behind him as well that have rapidly worked their way up the field. So he will soon have support on the way. Current hard charger is Josh Oswald, number 17 machine. He's up 16 spots, but just like that, the caution comes out once more. And let's see if we can grab a replay for you. So you're watching Jason Lotridge's number 48 machine. Looks like he got a little bit loose there and got hooked by Peyton Johnson. And then, oh no, Harold Buddy Barnes unable to go anywhere in the number 83 machine, and he gets collected as well. So drivers are going to once again scatter across the racetrack to bring out the second caution of the night. And let's see, are we going to see the pack come in for fuel and tires at this point, or are they going to try and stretch it out just a little bit further? So that will be the second caution of the night. And we should be approaching our halfway mark under caution, or at the very least restarting at the halfway mark. So the entire field will come into pit lane for 4 fresh Goodyears and a tank of gas. John Hastings, he was hoping for some green flag stops out there today. Just unable to make it happen with the calamity we've seen so far. As the field is going to absolutely scatter out of pit lane, trying to grab a little bit more track position. Looks like some drivers may be opting for a 2-stop strategy and tires. As Loving will hold on to the race lead, and Brett Grunwald will move up to second. Isaac Wilson gets shuffled back to third. James Jones will be fourth. Chris Reese will be fifth. And we're going to get ready to send him back out once more. So we should be about at the halfway mark. I think we may be able to see guys able to stretch it out to the end here if they save a little bit of fuel. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to keep the best track position here on the restart. Now, Steve Levin, he's been out front all night long, but he's got to be thinking, man, this might not be where I want to be for a final restart. So it's Steve Loving, Brett Grunwald on your front row, Isaac Wilson, James Jones your second row, and then Chris Reese, Jamie Dobbs, your third row. But we'll be restarting this race at the halfway mark here today. Steve Loving still searching for that first win here for the late night series at the original Rebel Racing League. As well as Grunwald in the number 5 machine with Arcadia Motorsports trying to get a win for his team. Pace car will be in this time by. And we will be at the halfway mark once we go green. Still a lot of racing left to go as we approach the halfway mark. Still not quite sure what's going to happen. Here at these plate races, it's really anybody's guess what's going to happen. It's all about knowing who you can trust around you to help push yourself up to the front. But pace car will be in this time by. And then the action starts once more here at Talladega. Pace car shoots across into pit lane. All eyes on Steve Levin, number 27 machine start on the inside line. He's coming in by Brett Grunwald on the outside line. The number 5 Chevy. Once again, it's Chevy 1, 2, 3. James Jones in fourth with the lone Ford in the top 10. Surrounded by a sea of Chevrolet. Green flag is out. Levin gets a pretty good launch. Brett Grunwald, he's going to look like he's going to stay high. Is the number 1 machine, James Dobbs. He dives to the inside line. It looks like Grunwald's going to have to fall in line here, not able to keep that pace as he has no outside draft support. He does zip across the track to the inside line. That's going to allow Steve Loving to lead another lap. Isaac Wilson in second, Brett Grunwald in the third. Now Grunwald, he is up 7 spots so far in that third place spot in his number 5 Chevrolet. So everybody doing a great job out there, just clicking off some laps. And let's see, are we going to keep it nice and tidy, or are we going to see some early aggressive maneuvers from all of our racers? Still waiting to see what happens. They're still single file going through turns 3 and 4, coming out in the back stretch. Everybody doing a fantastic job out there, able to hold those lines nice and tight, really trusting the guys around you to not make any mistakes that could possibly end your race prematurely. Peyton Johnson trying to get that outside line working, but does not appear to be working. Johnson currently in 21st on track. He is down 15 positions so far. Maybe suffering a little bit of aero damage on that number 15 machine. So he is at the tail end of this massive pack of drivers. Everybody's still in the lead lap. And the whole field pretty much staying together here. But Johnson has to be fighting some sort of damage on the number 15 machine. He was almost 2 seconds off the pace his last time by. And look at this mix of drivers. Jason Rockefeller on the inside line. He's running the number 14 machine tonight. It appears to be a game of who can hold the inside line the best to really get back up there and stay out front. And once again, for the most part, everybody getting into single file formation. You have to go just a little bit further back to Jason Lottridge, who is running the high side line here. No, excuse me, that's going to be the number 19 of Justin Wilkinson, who's getting shuffled at the back. That's kind of been a common factor we've seen here all night. If you find yourself getting out of line just for a moment, the inside line really picks up some momentum and comes charging around. As all these guys doing a fantastic job just clicking it off. You got the number 1 machine, James Jones, has a slight wiggle. Now what you may see from some of these competitors is they'll kind of get out of line for just a moment, at least half the car out of line before they dip back down into single file and into the draft, trying to put some cool air on the front of their cars to keep these engines from overheating, as well as a little bit of a mental break just to get outside the line for a half a moment to really clear your head, see what's going on around the rest of the racetrack. But oh man, James Jones having a bit of internet issues there in his number 1 machine. Jones is still behind Brett Grunwald, the number 5, who is in 3rd. So all of these guys still in a great position to make something happen towards the end of the race. They've got about 25 more laps to go as they cross the line. I suspect once you see it about 10 laps to go, you'll start seeing a bunch of cars trying to break out, pick alternative lines, and maybe make something happen. But you can definitely tell as this series has progressed, the drivers keep getting better and better, smarter and smarter with their track strategy, and seeing a little bit less early moves to make something happen as these guys are really developing as racers as in front of our eyes as the season progresses. James Jones still with those problems. Chris Reese currently right behind him in 6th place in his 62 machine. Has got to be mindful. He does not want to get right on the rear bumper of the number 1 machine, because if James Jones disappears for a moment and reappears inside the number 62 machine of Chris Reese, it can spell tragedy for all of these racers. We really haven't had the big one here tonight unless you count the wreck under caution, as one driver did have that mechanical failure where his wheel was no longer working. "25 laps to go out of a 60-lap race. And for a plate track, it has been pretty great and clean from all of these guys. As, oh, there's a moment. Jamie Dobbs gets kind of rustled around there, pushed onto the apron, able to hold on to it. So look, they have some drivers trying to make a hole through the racetrack and somebody getting a little bit unsettled. Able to keep it green though. Everybody's still pointing the right direction, have their tires underneath them. Not a lot of smoke. And everybody just trying to find a dance partner and stick with it. We're going to take you on board with second place Isaac Wilson for just a moment, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. That is what foot to the floor racing looks like on board with the number 93 machine of Isaac Wilson. Just holding down the loud pedal all the way around, giving himself a couple of micro blips to avoid getting to the back of Steve Levin as they dive into turns 1 and 3. But other than that, doing his best to get right on the rear bumper, keep that arrow to a minimum that comes over to the number 27 and onto the number 93. But oh, look at this shuffle going on. Chris Reese dives down the apron. Not sure if he got pushed there or not. He's behind James Jones in 4th and ahead of Dakota Camper in 6th. A lot of very talented racers run around up front. Let's see if they can make it all the way in, though, at Talladega, as we have avoided the big one thus far. These guys have been doing a fantastic job. Hold on to it. It's 22 laps left to go. And no one really showing any signs of attrition yet. This is one of those races that can really wear on you. Running around single file for 60 laps at a time can really kind of drain you. You start making mistakes, and just one mistake in this little draft battle, and you can find yourself having a very rough night. Because if you get just a little bit out of line and try and overcorrect, the driver behind you maybe have tried to squeeze his way in. You can come together, and when there's crashes at Talladega, they are usually spectacular. So far, the Anchor Point 150 race has been pretty clean, besides a couple little moments. These guys doing a great job. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see him make it all the way to the end under green flag conditions without a pit stop, or they're going to have to come in one more time. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. But lap traffic about to come into play here. Now, fortunately, the entire pack is pretty much single file. So should not have too many issues. That's number 21 and Michael Morrison going another lap down. You're on board the back of Steve Levin's number 27 Chevrolet. Watching just how close Isaac Wilson and the number 93 can get at times. And it really shows you when they wiggle out of line just a little bit how big that line of race cars really is. It is still 22 drivers on the lead lap and about 14 drivers in the lead pack. So everybody doing a great job sticking together, making something happen, keeping those cars clean, as once we get down to 10 laps to go, the floodgates will be released and everyone is going to be battling as hard as they possibly can for those positions. And we know what they always say, cautions breed caution. So far we've had a pretty good night so far, keeping it nice and easy. As it is once more Loving, Wilson, Grunwald, Jones, Reese, our top 5. Everybody doing a great job with 17 laps to go. So roughly about 7 laps remaining before you start seeing drivers really pushing aggressively, trying to make something happen. As more lap traffic comes into play, I don't think it's going to be too much of a concern for your race leaders, as lap traffic will hold the high line and allow the race leaders to get through nice and clean. That is the 111 of Gene Watkinson, currently running 23rd on track, going another lap down. As your race leaders get through nice and easy. 16 laps left to go. The final shootout is coming. The big brawl at Talladega for the Anchor Point 150. You guys are not going to want to miss this because it is always an exciting time. As you'll see drivers really working those bumpers, trying to push their friends up towards the front, push their enemies out of the way. As you've got several drivers here in the top 5, all searching for their first win of the season. But right now, it is all about Steve Love, number 27, looking great out there in the Miller machine. Clicking them off, making it look easy. Great drone footage, really showing you the weaving around that our top 15 drivers are doing. As it is a gigantic game of 200-mile-an-hour chase. The top speed we've seen so far was about 204 miles an hour, while most guys are averaging right around that 200-mile-an-hour mark. 15 laps left to go. Soon you're going to see some drivers getting a little bit less patient and starting to push a little bit early. Then once they do, everyone behind is going to follow in tow, as now it looks like Isaac Wilson possibly looking away around Steve Loving. When are we going to see a potential breakaway here? And still the high-speed record here at Talladega, still owned by Rusty Wallace, set at 216 miles an hour back in 2004. So the cars have gotten a little bit slower since then, but not a whole lot, as these guys are really hanging it out here today. 13 laps left to go. Who's going to be the first driver that wants to try and make a move and get this party started? As it is Loving, Wilson, Grunwald, Jones, Reese, Camper, Paisley, Redder, Rockefeller, Kinder. Your top 10. A lot of very usual names we've seen up towards the front, but also a lot of aggressive drivers as well. So are they able to make any big moves and make it all the way up to the front without having big incidents? And looks like we do have another caution come out, as Jake Ellington is going to find himself in an incident. And that may be really shaking things up for a final shootout. Let's grab that instant replay here for you. So Jake Ellington Comes off the apron and just sends it. Let's try this once more. We're going to back this camera angle up a little bit and see what happened in Ellington. See where he came from. So I thought initially he might have been coming out of pit lane, but he was by himself. Just caught too much apron coming out of turn 2 and sent himself sliding around the racetrack. And a big hard hit for the 09 machine against the outside wall. And that will bring out the caution flag once more. So it'll be about 10 laps left to go once they restart this race. And oh man, this is going to be exciting. So not sure how this is going to affect the overall race as we're going to get them stacked up again. Now how is this going to affect the overall restart is you're going to bunch up the field once more. And then we're going to see what happens here. It's going to be the final shootout here at Talladega for the Anchor Point 150, the mental health awareness race. Now, we talked about earlier that cautions breed cautions. I think now might be the time, as you're going to have a lot of drivers just holding it wide and maybe moving some drivers out of the way for the final restart or possibly the final restart. So let's see what's going to happen. It's going to be Steve Loving, Isaac Wilson, Brett Grunewald, James Jones, Chris Reese, our top 5. But who is going to have the friendships up front to make something happen? Finding a draft partner to work with is going to be absolutely imperative for all of these guys if they want any shot at that very top spot. Because if they do not work together, that's going to allow Steve Loving to check out in the number 27 machine. But also expect to see some very big blocks being thrown here today, as nobody wants to be the first car in second when they have a chance at winning it. So it'll be 9 laps left to go for the restart here today. So let's see, pace car will be in this time by, possibly for the final restart here at Talladega, the Anchor Point 150. What's going to happen? Steve Loving has been the dominant car all night long, but can he hold them off? As there's a lot of drivers behind him that now know, hey, we've got a shot at winning this if we push hard and push early. We've avoided the big one here at Talladega so far, but it is brewing in the background. Not quite sure what we're going to see happen here. It'll be 9 laps to go once they cross the line, the final shootout. Oh, this is going to be very, very exciting for all of our competitors. And the fans at home as well. Waiting for that iRacing Ford Mustang to make its way into pit lane, and it does. And keep an eye on Steve Lovin. He's now starting on the high side with Isaac Wilson starting the low line. Away they go. James Jones, the number 1 machine, he's going to try and get in the mix as well. That was not the green flag. That was just loud noises, so my apologies. Still waiting for that green flag to drop here at Talladega. There it is. So Steve Lovin gets a great launch. He's going to drop in front of Isaac Wilson, number 93 machine. They've been working together all night long. James Jones, he also drops in the inside line. Kind of cuts off Brett Grunwald there for a moment. Then you've got the number 3 machine. He's running the high line. Not quite sure who the number 3 is, as he is running the unmatching paint scheme to his transponder out there today. Nine laps to go. So far, so clean. It looks like most of the field up front is broken into single file. Not having any problems so far, but we are expecting a breakout from some of these drivers as we start winding down the laps. What is going to happen? It's Lovin up front, Wilson second, Jones third, Grunwald fourth, Reese fifth. As everyone in the top 5, top 10 really running single file, no issues so far. Who's going to be the first one to break out of the line and try and make something happen? And when are we going to see it happen? Brett Grunwald's currently in 4th. He's got 2 teammates behind him that are several cars back. Are we going to see the 3 Arcadia Motorsports drivers hop out of line together to make something happen? Or are they going to leave Brett Grunwald up there to fend for himself? He's currently in 4th behind Jones, Wilson, and Loving. None of these drivers want to show their hand too early as they're all across the racetrack coming out of 4. A lot of drivers getting a little bit unsettled there. Now I'm guessing we're going to see a final move with 2 to go that gives the drivers a little bit of a buffer to work with. That way if they pull a move, it will not give the other drivers time to get back by. But our top 3 has a little bit of a breakaway. Loving, Wilson, Jones getting a little bit of breathing room ahead of Brett Grunwald's number 5 machine. But Grunwald could be setting up for a big long run here to propel himself up to the lead. And when, oh when, are we going to see the drafting really come into effect? You got 9 drivers still in this lead pack. 8 drivers. Then you've got Jason Rockefeller, number 14 Ford. He is a 9th on track, leading a freight train of other drivers. Five laps left to go. When are we going to see some big moves come out? This lead pack doesn't want to show their hands too early as well because they know they've got an absolute massive field of drivers behind them. As soon as they go too wide, they're going to really open up that air bubble to allow the other drivers to catch up and get back up there. So they're going to stay single file for as long as they possibly can. But how long can they stretch that out before they make something happen? Isaac Wilson starting to show the bumper to Steve Loving up front. Not sure if he's trying to help his friend move towards the front or possibly unsettle the number 27, your current race leader. As it's going to be 4 laps to go once they cross the line. Ooh, these guys doing a great job so far. Doesn't look like anybody wants to commit to that outside line just quite yet. If I was a betting man, I think on lap 2 to go, you'll see Grunwald, number 5 machine, take a peek to the outside line and maybe pick up his 2 teammates back there, Jeff Paisley and Brett Redder, who are running as well in this pack of 8 drivers. And now it's going to be 3 laps left to go. It's still Steve Loving who's been the dominant car so far here tonight, accompanied by Isaac Wilson and the number 93 machine, who has been pushing the number 27 up to the front all night long. It's hard to tell what's happening back there. I'm not sure if Grunewald is falling off the pace to try and get a run, or if he may be trying to avoid James Jones, who's had a little bit of internet problems all night long. It's going to be 2 laps left to go as they cross the line. Steve Loving is looking great for a clean sweep of tonight's race. But if we're going to see a breakout effort, I think now is going to be the time. There's not much time left in tonight's race for anybody to make any final pushes, as Loving is looking for that first win, as well as Isaac Wilson. Just like that, we called it. There goes the Arcadia Motorsports guys to the outside line. They're going to try and get that pack working the 3 identical paint schemes. But they are not quite in single file. It looks like Grunewald really just didn't get the run there, as the 4 cars in front of them still staying single file. That's Loving, Wilson, Jones, and Reese all running single file. The white flag is out. Right now, it is Steve Loving's race. He's got to hold off Isaac Wilson and the number 93 machine for just one more lap here at Talladega before they can complete this long race for these competitors. As somebody gets pushed off the line, that's James Jones. The number 1 machine gets pushed down the apron. Now the outside line is formed up. They're going to try and get around Steve Loving, who's going to throw a massive block. The number 27 machine is going to make that machine about 3 lanes wide. He gives a bit of a love tap to the 93. They are bumping and grinding all over the place right now. Looks like it's going to be Loving, Camper, Wilson at the line. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to be a side-by-side race for third. Who's going to get it here at Talladega? Steve Loving gives a good hearty push to the 93. And it is going to be Steve Loving, Dakota Camper, and a Brett Redditor on top of the box here today. So a great race from all of our competitors here today. Quite the fantastic run. A great one to call. That last lap was extremely exciting. We're going to try and get these drivers into the waiting room here for their podium speeches as Brett Redder sends it sliding around. And Steve Loving is going to burn it down here at Talladega with a well-deserved win, his first win so far of the season. That's a great race from all of our competitors. A very great run all the way around as we see some new faces up on the podium so far this season. As these drivers go bumping and grinding each other for the final race. All right, up first, you've got third place, Brett Rether and the number 97 machine. Brett, great job out there, man. Good to see you up on the podium again.
I don't have a clue how I got to third, I'll tell you that much.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I mean, how'd you feel going into that run tonight? I know it's always kind of a gamble here for plate track racing, but you look like you had it kind of figured out and just somehow made it happen there at the end.
I'll tell you what, none of us could get a run tonight. It was single file the best we could do.
Now, Brett, what was the plan among the Arcadian Motorsports drivers? We called in the broadcast booth with 2 to go. We may see try a breakaway from the Arcadian Motorsports cars, but was it just not able to get that draft working like you wanted tonight, or was it the other guys being in that 4-car pack that prevented you guys from kind of running up there together?
Well, with 2 to go, we all like, hey, let's go high, let's go high. And we got a decent run, and then we just fell back. And then I let, Jeff and Brett back down in front of me, and then we all got another run on the white flag, and they went to go high, and I seen a car get loose and go high and slow them down, so I dropped low, and that's when I passed 4 or 5 cars on the last lap. So basically, if it wasn't for my teammates, I wouldn't be sitting here on the podium, so got to thank my Arcadian Motorsports teammates for that.
Well, great job. It seemed like it really worked out well for you. A little bit easier race than Bristol last week. I know everybody has to be relieved coming to a super speedway this week. Now, how are you feeling going to Martinsville next week? Is that going to be an exciting track for you?
Yeah, I like Martinsville, but just kind of, nervous for all the cautions and getting caught up in someone else's mess, or, braking too soon and getting, dumped from behind. It's going to be a tough race, that's for sure. But I'm looking forward to it. It's always exciting to go there.
Well, always a great time talking to my friend Brett. Before I let you sign off, who would you like to thank that may be supporting you behind the scenes?
Well, I'd really like to apologize and thank Jason Rockefeller for giving me some room there on that last restart. I dropped in, and he could have just dumped me, but he gave me the room, and it kind of screwed his race up. So big apology and a big thanks to him. Again, it was a couple times tonight I kind of cut his nose off, so I just want to let him know that. I want to thank all my teammates, Brett and Jeff. It was a good run. I want to thank our series sponsors, Whole Sheet Metal, Magic Motorsports, Arcadian Motorsports, Smil Racing Designs, Butt Kicker, McConey Setup Shop, Willie P Designs, and Anchor Point Counseling. It's a mental health awareness race, so just want to thank all the admins and everybody in this league for coming out and running with us.
Well, always a great time, Brett. Hope to see you do it well at Martinsville, and always a great time talking to you, my friend.
10-4, we really appreciate your broadcast, man. Have a great night.
You as well, sir. All right, up next, we've got Dakota Camper bringing it home in second, up 15 spots in the number 9 Chevrolet. Dakota, how are you feeling after that last very exciting finish?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Rode the bottom line for most of the race, got up to 6th and kind of stayed there for a long time. And then that last lap, everybody got dicey and somehow found my way up through into second.
Now, Dakota, some of the other drivers said it was really hard to get any substantial runs going on tonight, and that's why it was so single file. Were you feeling that as well, or what were you feeling in that draft pack we saw all night?
Yeah, it's difficult to get the outside going. You have to have like the same amount of cars in the outside as you do on the inside, or you just don't have a chance. If there's like 8 cars on the inside and you try and go with 3 cars, you're just going to drop to the back. So I think everybody saw that early and decided to just stay in line. Then there at the end, it was kind of, well, we got to take our shot anyway. So it was pretty fun there at the end.
Well, you did a great job as always, my man. Good to see you up here on the podium scoring some much-needed points in the number 9 machine. Before I let you sign off, who would you like to give a shout-out to that may be supporting you behind the scenes?
Yeah, absolutely. Want to give a shout-out to Unchained Motorcycle Ministry. We had a great event this weekend. Shout-out to Jeremy and Chastity Monk for doing such a great job with that event. Also to Whole Sheet Metal, Magic Mike Motorsports, Arcadian Motorsports, Smil Racing Design, Butt Kicker, all the sponsors for the league, and also you, man. You do a great job. Love going back and watching it.
Always a great time, man. Great, always a great time having you up in the booth here with me. Hope to see you do it well at Martinsville, Dakota.
Absolutely, we'll give it our best shot, but that's going to be a wild card for sure.
All right, good luck, man. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one, man.
All right, up next, man of the hour, Steve Loving and the Miller time, number 27. Steve finally put it on the top spot after trying so hard all season long.
Yeah, it was nice to get a win. It was a good race. Obviously the drafting package is not the best on the cars. That's no news to anybody, but great race, great drivers out there, some good pushers, good camaraderie. Had a great time.
Now, Steve, what was the plan on the last couple laps? We were all kind of betting for the pack of drivers to come out there and make something happen in the end. Were you just going to try and make that number 27 machine 4 cars wide, or did you have a plan?
Well, my plan was not to get wrecked, or try not to. I knew somebody was going to get a run, so I was just watching my mirror. I was trying to drag my brake a little bit, coming out of two on the last couple laps, just to prevent anyone from getting a real big run. Um, but yeah, I was just being cautious, trying to see who's going to go high, who's going to go low, see if I can throw a block safely, and try to defend it and hold it.
Well, you did great out there. I believe you led just about every lap, if not every lap. So, I mean, fantastic run from start to finish, making it look easy and bringing that number 27 machine back to the garage nice and clean. Now, before I let you go and celebrate and pop that virtual champagne, who would like to give a shout out to behind the scenes that may be supporting you and the number 27 machine? The floor is yours, my friend.
First and foremost, JBR Motorsports, great team, great, a lot of help in the race. Isaac Wilson, he was his first race. He was a great helper, great pusher in second. Dakota, a big thanks to him for not wrecking me in the trival. um, Aside from that, whole sheet metal, Magic Mike Motorsports, Acadia Motorsports, Mule Racing, Butt Kicker. Obviously, you guys with Team Goon Squad, appreciate it. And then lastly, Verizon for not letting me blink out.
Or wait, are you, to be clear, Steve, for the broadcast, everybody at home, are you on a hotspot right now?
No, I'm not. No, I have Verizon as ISP. I just want to
Ah,
make sure
okay.
to
I was gonna say
keep
that was
the
about to make that win
so.
doubly impressive.
No, no hotspot. I did have a little technical issues about 30 minutes before the race. I was a little concerned about, but fortunately, they got worked out.
Well, Steve, great job out there, my friend. Congratulations on the first win this season, and now we hope to see you carry on that tradition when we go to Martinsville next week.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
You as well, sir. So a great race here for the original Rebel Racing League. We had our fair share of cautions, but everybody did a good job overall keeping it pretty clean and running around in that very tight draft. But Steve Love, number 27, is going to bring it home on the very top spot for his first win so far this season. Again, on behalf of Anchor Point, Original Rebel Racing League, and TeamGoonsquad.com, I'm James East, thanking you all so much for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you same time, same place next week as the late night series heads to Martinsville. Have a great night, everyone.